Well, hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Ascension Playground. This is your friend Ursi. And I don't know about you, but this month of June 2025, as it's coming to a close with so many auspicious markers in the cosmic and celestial heavens, for me, it's been a month filled with meeting new friends, whether it's abroad or here in California where I live. So, the beautiful aspect of meeting one's soul tribe, following the flow of that which you love, and being passionate about, I don't know, whether you're creating something or really knowing yourself well enough to say, this is what brings my energy vibration up. Well, for me, if you couldn't tell, it's meeting people like you who are interested in expanding your thinking and your feeling sense around maybe there's more to life than the program that I was given when I was born and as I matured. So we're living in such a dynamic time where, yes, the external world is really pushing us into, is that true? Is that not true? What do I believe? Do I hold on to these thoughts or not? But having recently spoken with Alan Steinfeld, who wrote a book called Making Contact, and you can find him on his program called New Realities, and also having spoken recently with powerful astrologers Elizabeth Hartstar in Sedona and Linda Kubata Bird, our NCGR astrology president, who's also located near me in California. Anyway, the tom-toms feel like they're expanding and growing. I just really light up when I'm able to share the meanderings and musings or ramblings that kind of come up like a wellspring. Like you won't see me when there's a time of going out to explore, but you will see me when it's time to, okay, put the analysis together. Are there any dots to be, connected? So one major dot to connect with me is to bring me back to the galactic heritage story of physical manifestation in this area of the cosmos. What is she talking about? Well, in the Milky Way galaxy, there's a beautiful constellation called Lyra. And you've probably heard me say many times that Lisa Royal Holt channeled through some really important information that many others are using as a foundation. This is her channeling her future Pleiadian self, Sasha, or this broader integrated collective being named Germaine. So isn't that interesting just to know that there are other support groups here and available to help humanity, all of us, make this evolutionary pivot and shift into a new age of light. All right, so we can all feel the change, perhaps. It's not pleasant always, obviously, but it's dynamic if you look at this idea of the excitement of being able to witness what is happening. So this morning when I went for my walk, try to get an hour in, just to say, okay, this is my spiritual time. And I'm not going to deal with the dogs or the house or family members. I'm just going to go on this walk and open myself back up to my sense of spirit and nature, my higher self, to source. Okay, so this is what came through. All right, so here is Lyra constellation. I mean, obviously there's more stars in Lyra. And sometimes when you see one dot, it's really a collective of a couple of stars that look like one, but they're many. Anyway, when I tuned in with my higher self, having talked with Alan Steinfeld, and I immediately signed up for his remote viewing class, my mental reluctance at first was, oh no, not another thing to go and learn. But instead I thought, wow, this could really supercharge this whole pathway of learning. So I've read the books, I've listened, I've done classes, made it through certification programs. But then it's like, let me go experience it. Like to stop this mental thinking and actually have someone guide me into this idea of right brain, left brain, how to move in a balance of yin yang, and then potentially remember my past life in the Dendera temple of the Hathors in Egypt. Yeah, that's something that comes up often for me. You just have to say Hathors, and I'm already feeling sonic like vibrations. And speaking of sonic, here's Lyra. And so it's got this beautiful imagery of a lyre or a harp, but the story or the mythic story of Lyra, you see these asterisms or constellations are usually identified with some story. It's usually an archetypal story of our creation and how we moved along when the worlds between the gods and humans was more in flux. And there was not just the separation of 3D, 4D, and 5D, but let's say there was more of a dimensional and frequency interchange. Okay, so Lyra. The story is, of course, Hermes or Mercury walking along the beach. He's got this like trickster energy, playful, youthful, let's go learn, let's go poke the cattle. In this case, he found a tortoise shell and he turned it over and he saw the guts, let's say, and he started plucking. It had dried. And so the sound was made. And from the beautiful sound came this idea of musical instruments. So the instrument that, let's say, Mercury Hermes, found and created, who then, after he created havoc with Apollo, the sun god, bartered, okay, don't hurt me, forgive me, and here's my beautiful musical instrument. And then Apollo later gave this instrument to Orpheus. All right. And then Orpheus was able to use the sonic, beautiful music of this instrument to find his way into Hades or the underworld and get Hades or Pluto to agree to let me bring my dead wife back to the upper world. There was the caveat, just you can do this, just don't look back until you're above into the third dimensional real world. Well, Orpheus, as the story goes, tragically wasn't sure he heard his wife behind him, is almost at sunlight, turns around, and she sorrowfully has to go back to the underworld. But what this story is saying and how it's held in the heavens is this idea of the origination of matter. For me, it's this idea of frequency and how we can work with this frequency of which we are, bringing ourselves into attunement. That when you bring the human being down to our core essence, we are really blinking off and on this light, but the light is held in the sonic sounds of the universe. Okay? And so if we began this journey in our Milky Way galaxy in the constellation of Lyra, Lisa shares a beautiful story of that heritage, the beginning point. Like when I was in school, I was taught, human beings all began in the continent of Africa. And then we traveled out and we became other people based on, so we went out. But it was Africa as the origin for where man began. I know I'm dating myself. They don't teach that, I don't think, anymore in the schools. Maybe they do. I don't know. But in our galactic history, we say manifestation or human-like beings began here. But they began as more energy fields, right? Plasma, energy. And even though in human terms, we like it when people and beings look more like us, because we can identify it with anything or anyone who looks like us. And so when they don't, we try and anthropomorphize them, like taking God and making God look like Michelangelo's Adam and Father God at the creative moment. So, where am I headed with this? So, I got inspired with Alan, and I'm already trying to do my own preparatory work, getting ready for his remote viewing class. And if you're interested, I'll put the information with his affiliate link in the description. But I thought to myself, okay, if he can do it, I can do it, right? So, it's like in class, you see the first one jump in, and then maybe the rest of us can jump in as well. And just a footnote, Alan learned from Russell Targ, Targ, with the Stanford Research Institute to really try and understand how he could help support America's CIA, Central Intelligence Agency, to also do remote viewing, spying without having to leave your without having to take an airplane. You leave your body energetically and go see other places. Well, Alan said he went to go visit some places in the cosmos, and he recommends not going to the Galactic Center because it made him dizzy. Well, that's kind of, I get it energetically. I wouldn't want to go there either. But I said to myself, okay, so within my soul connections that I have found in Julia Balaz's Galactic Astro Chart Calculator, where's my home base? Where can I go to say, I know I'm part of all of this, but where can I go? Where's my target? Because Alan will talk about you create the target. And so I thought, okay, I've tuned in. So I'm walking this morning and I'm thinking, Lyra. All right, well, I got a beautiful reading one-on-one with Julia Balaz years ago before she stopped doing personal readings. And she helped me see that I had a soul connection to the beautiful star named Vega. So Vega carries very feminine, masculine, feminine, but the feminine yin principle of receptivity and going in, very much like Tibetan spirituality, where it's like, we meditate and we go in. But that's not what I was getting, because I was doing these finger pulls, like yes, no answers with my body. You can use your body as a pendulum. And so I'm walking and I'm like, okay, is my home base on a spiritual soul level in Vega, Lyra? And I got a no. This is a no when the fingers pull apart. So I'm like, okay, is it somewhere in Lyra? Yes, Ursula's home base is somewhere in Lyra. I'm like, okay. So I'm going and I'm walking and I'm thinking, okay, I know the primary stars because I've done so many readings. Okay, it's Sulafat. I just went through the whole list of all the other stars that I remembered in Lyra, and I kept getting no, no, no. And so I got home, went on the computer, pulled up this image of Lyra, and wouldn't you know it, I really got drawn to this little triangle. Here's Vega and two other stars making this little, almost, it's nearly equilateral, but not exactly, right? This triangle. And then this forms a parallelogram here. So the two form like a generic model of Lyra, the constellation in the heavens. And so I thought, okay, if it's not Vega, I'm really drawn to this. So I asked, is it this star? No. Is it this star? And immediately I already knew it's this point in Lyra, which is my home base. So run over to Astrology King, run over to Constellation of Words. In fact, let me go ahead and share with you. Well, first of all, I wanted to know, where is my home base? So if this is the sun, right, that we work with in our Milky Way galaxy, right? And so here are the planets. Well, I love the planets, but I really wanted to find a fixed star that I could call home base. And you can see right up here is the star Vega. All right. And so from that, triangle and then parallelogram put together for Lyra, I was kind of thinking, I thought it was going to be maybe serious, like start with something big. But of course, no, my spiritual team said, it's in Lyra, it's not Vega. You'll know it. So I recognized it by the geometry. Let me show you something else. Okay. So I know this is a little bit blurry, but it helps tell a broader story of Lyra. Because when you go back to the ancient Egyptian era and the Babylonian era, and you start looking at, well, how were they looking at the stars and what were they seeing? So remember, I saw that wonderful triangle. And in doing my research, right behind me is the lyre. Okay. This is that musical instrument and an artist's different rendition. It's the same stars. But guess what? Do you notice this bird that's carrying this lyre, this harp, this sonic frequency of the constellation? So in the Ancient of Days, there was this winged bird carrying the lyre, and the bird was thought to be first a vulture, right? And so I'm like, great, a vulture. But the vulture representing this idea of death and transformation. Later, people ascribed the bird to being a swooping eagle. And there's other eagles in the heavens. In fact, right next to Lyra is the beautiful constellation Cygnus, the swan that carries Deneb Adige, a beautiful star point for Isis. So you've got this, oh, and here's Hercules. Let's see, that way. Hercules. So Lyra is sitting between Hercules and this beautiful swan. All right. It is in the northern hemisphere, but let me show you this because it does tell a broader origin story that today we kind of like to scrub off anything related to death and decay or disease or cancer. But in the Ancient of Days, they really were able to perhaps embrace this idea of the beautiful part of life was understanding its ultimate date of expiration. So a vulture carrying this sonic harp. So then I went and I said, okay, but where is this triangle and the one star? Turns out the star that I was so attracted to was not the alpha star for my home base when I'm going to go remote view there, Alan, in your class coming up July 9th. But it's the Zeta of Lyra. So don't worry, it's not the gray people, but Zeta is that way of ascribing like the star. This is the alpha star. This is the beta star. So I was attracted to like the omega star, the last one, Zeta, sitting right here, close to the heart of the vulture or the heart of the eagle. That's my home base. And so it gave me kind of a certain sense of, well, no wonder it's there. You know, it's not like with the princess or the queen. It's not with the constellation. I thought it was maybe going to be in Leo, but no, it's right here, my home base. And again, I'm going to say this for the record. I know that I'm a fractal and part of all that is, but in my beautiful 3D way of thinking today, I just want to know when I go remote viewing, where's my home base galactically in a fixed star? So I'm going to really zoom in on Zeta Lyra. Let me go back and show you. I know there's a lot of background changes, but I wanted to share this image with you because in my journey today, and trying to learn more about Zeta Lyra, this beautiful star, and the star's actual name, it's actually two stars in one. Okay, so the name of the star, the Zeta star that I was told through my own way of channeling is spelled Nasr, Nasr, and then the next word Alwaki. Nasr, Alwaki, there's a 1 and a 2. So it's two stars appearing as one. And so for me, right away, I remembered a dream that I've had that's been recurring over my lifetime where I can see a wall of water, but there's two light beings that are traveling really fast. And I felt like, oh, they're either witnessing it or they're helping all of us below, about ready to get the wave on top of us. So for me, it was, oh, I recognize you. So Nasr al-Waki 1 and 2 are sitting today at around 18 degrees of Capricorn, 6 minutes. So 18 degrees of Capricorn, 6 minutes. And so if you're tracking this, there is this idea that the Dendera zodiac, of which this is, played a key role in ascribing where things were in the cosmos. I mean, it's to the level of astrology wheel with decadence. And I'm like, my God, look how specific it is. And so when I have this behind me, I'm actually letting myself tune back into the many Egyptian lives, Atlantean lives, and even Lemurian lives. I know that either I've had or I have experienced by going through other people's lives. So it's one of those things I'm learning, that I don't have to have the actual lifetime. I could have just said, yes, I intend to live through that. Show me the movie. And I feel like I lived that life because it was so real. All right. I don't know if I'm losing some of you, but let me show you one more image. Okay. So this is my happy place. If you don't know what a Hathor is, these are those semi-godlike creatures who were really tall according to mythology. Let's just say they're star beings, okay? But they're all feminine and they have like these cow ears, okay? When someone first told me they had cow ears, I was insulted. I'm like, no, they don't. Then I looked, oh, okay, well, I can see where they think it's a cow ear. But in fact, it's more like having like stereos. And they had, the Hathors, as many of you probably know, had a double vocal cord and they worked in group. And so sonically manifesting, singing reality into present time, or bringing the sonic frequencies into life. And so whenever I see these, this is a composite of imagery I've found. Here, let me get out of the way. Look at all this amazing markings on top of these Dendera in Egypt. It's the Temple of the Hathors. And I usually wear a Hathor pendant, which unfortunately was left behind when I was traveling in Italy, but I will get it back. But this idea of, okay, you've got Lyra constellation. And as I'm trying to investigate that as my home base for Zeta in the stars, Nasr, Alwaki 1 and 2, Alwaki 1 and 2, then here come the Hathors talking to me through the Dendara zodiac. And so I am so open to this idea of, show me. I have this desire from my heart to know more. I want to be ready for Alan's class. I want to know what my target fixed star home base is going to be. And so I used my own methodology to go from, here's all the stars in the heavens, and here's all this information that I've learned. Where's home base for me? And I'm sharing this along with an invitation that you don't need to take a class. You don't need to do the process the way I did it. But if you're ever interested in visiting with ease and grace and in loving support, you can astral travel there by just declaring that before you go to sleep and writing it down from your heart to your hand to the paper and putting that piece of paper under your pillow. It's a real simple procedure, but if anyone else wants to come visit me on my home base of Nasr Alwaki 1 and 2, I'm going to be popping between the two of those stars as home base. Come visit. But first, we're going to learn how to do remote viewing, thanks to Alan, to get a stronger, okay, I'm here. And I guess the questions coming up now is, why would you even want to go visit, right? And there's something exciting to me about, God, can you imagine feeling like you're home? Real home. And if you've struggled like I have with, okay, these are my biological family members, but no one seems to be looking at the world the way I do, or looking at potentials the way I do. If you do feel a little bit alone like that, I just kind of already feel like this celebration of, hey, thanks for coming to visit. And let's start singing and saying the singing prayers and dreaming in the new dream for all of us. for peace and compassion and joy and creativity, all under the guise of expansion, of us becoming more of who we choose to be, and dropping into our hearts. So I want to say thank you, Hathor sisters. And if this is a new word for you, I would recommend taking a look at Tom Kenyon's work. He has channeled the Hathors. He has written the Magdalene manuscript with the Hathors and many other things. And he leads, I don't know if he's still doing it, but he usually leads these annual, sonic gatherings. I know Peggy Black goes sometimes, like to Seattle, or she used to. Anyway, that's me. That's Ursula on the Ascension playground, trying to put these little pieces together. If you have felt anything by watching this, feel free to comment. Or if you haven't, do try and subscribe. It's a marker for me to help me understand if I'm talking and sharing, is anyone listening? So thank you. Thank you. In some ways, it shouldn't matter. In other ways, it's just knowing your encouragement helps me actually go deeper into so many different beautiful cosmic rabbit holes. All right. Sending big hugs with my Hathor sisters and the stars and Lyra, especially Zeta Lyra, named Nasr Alwaki 1 at 18 degrees Capricorn, 6 minutes. Take care, everybody. Bye for now.